Hello everyone, and welcome to today's podcast episode. I am your host, Kate.
And I'm your co-host, Mira.
Today, we're not just talking about podcasts as a medium. We're talking about why people choose to listen to them.
That's right. More specifically, today we'll be exploring the ways of how a podcast finds its identity and turns people's ideas into stories.
Our focus today is on theme and storytelling. Two concepts that may sound complicated at first, but actually start from something very simple, that everyone gets.
Now, we shall unravel that power of storytelling. Who are you and what truly matters to you?
Let's begin with the basics, shall we? What do we really mean when we refer to a podcast theme?
Well, you see, it's not simply saying this podcast is about music or this podcast is about society. A theme is not just a topic, it carries a wider meaning than that.
More specifically, a theme should answer three basic questions at once. What do I talk about? How do I talk about it? And why am I talking about it?
Another vital question that also needs to be answered is, who is this podcast for? In other words, what's its target audience? Am I referring to children, young adults, families?
Precisely, Mira. Our way of speaking truly depends on the audience listening to us. If we are referring to children, our tone needs to be more soft and fun. If we're talking to adults, on the other hand, we need to be more chill and serious at the same time. Then there is the main topic you'll be discussing. If you say, my podcast is about life, it's too broad. People don't really take interest in that. But if you say, my podcast is about how young people experience pressure about their future, suddenly, the listener knows if this podcast speaks to them, and they're taking it into much more consideration.
And something important to remember, a cheat, someone might say, a good theme doesn't need to sound smart. It needs to sound honest and impactful.
The way we choose a theme changes depending on whether the podcast is solo or collective.
In a solo podcast, the theme usually comes from personal experience, something from our point of view.
You ask yourself, what really matters to me right now? Not in general, but today. The Kate and the Mira of today.
Because if you don't care about the topic, it will be heard in your voice. And, trust me, listeners can tell whether you're passionate about it or you're just waiting for the time to end.
In a group podcast, however, the theme doesn't belong to one person.
It emerges through dialogue, shared concerns, and sometimes even disagreement.
The goal isn't for everyone to think the same way. The difference is actually a strength that we should take into account.
When a theme is chosen collectively, the story belongs to everyone involved.
So now we have a theme, but there is another challenge coming our way.
How do we talk about it in a way that people usually want to listen to?
This is where storytelling comes in.
People don't remember plain information and facts. They remember stories.
Stories create images, emotion, and movement. It gives a more lively feeling and helps us understand the speakers better.
Even when you talk about everyday life events, you're already telling stories, something that everyone can relate to in a way.
The moment you say, something happened to me last week, you've already started a narrative and maybe attracted more people to it.
Storytelling doesn't mean fiction and fantasy. It means giving shape to experience, sharing life in a different way.
One common storytelling pattern is the journey.
Someone starts in one place, faces challenges, and ends up changed, even at the slightest.
The story always concludes somewhere. A change doesn't have to be dramatic or unique. What matters is movement. What knowledge is gained by listening to the story, and what is helped us understand better.
Another effective pattern is presenting a problem and exploring how people respond to it.
The problem could be stress, pressure, self-doubt, anything that troubles people in their everyday lives.
There's no need for a solution. Honest exploration is far more enough as long as people feel something they can relate to. We don't get it at first, but our brains capture all of those little moments of change. A sentence, a look, or a short conversation that reveals something bigger.
And if you focus enough, you can find plenty. Just zoom in on the moment, and then, boom. After you zoom out, you finally see the real meaning behind it. Storytelling in podcasts isn't only about words.
It's about how you combine them with other arts, such as music, a very fundamental element that every podcast should have.
Natural sound can place the listener in a scene instantly.
It can make them feel relaxed, afraid, happy. Designed sounds can support emotion.
Voices, dialogue, reactions, laughter add life and perspective to the story. It dives us deep into the moment without the need to picture it ourselves. And if there is one thing to take from today's episode,
it's that a podcast doesn't start with a microphone.
It always starts with a question. What story am I already living? And why do I want to share it?
The theme gives direction. The storytelling brings it to life.
You don't need perfect answers. No one does. You need honesty. Be real with yourself and the people that are listening to you.
Because when something matters to you,
it will matter to someone listening.